Well, hi Tanu, hi Jake. First two people to join us. Hi Nesar. So I am going to be plugging Dimple in and then we can wait for a few more people.
Hi there.
Hi Dimple.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Very good, thank you. I'm just going to say a quick hi to my social media manager, Pranav. Apologies, I've logged into this live stream from my personal account, not Pranav by Dimple Jaya.
Okay, sure,
Hi,
sure.
Pooja, how are you?
I'm doing fine. So do you want to join with the official account or is this okay?
I could actually join from the official account. Give me a
Yeah, sure.
second.
Sure. Let's do that. Till we wait for Dimple to come back, if you guys have any questions related to Ayurveda or health or immunity, all relating to Ayurveda, do message us here and we will get Dimple to answer them. And Dimple's back. Hi Sharmili, hi Nikhil, hi everybody who has joined us. Hi Shashank.
Hey there. I'm
Hi
back.
Dimple, welcome back.
Thank you so much. I must congratulate you girls, first of all. I don't know how many girls in your team, but you guys are fantastic with research. So I must congratulate you for that first.
Thank you so much. So the research was done by a boy.
All right, girls and boys, it's an equal world.
Yeah, so we're just waiting for a few more people to join Dimple and then we can start. Till then, I just wanted to. I think I'm losing you there. Yes, same, yeah. Otherwise, you keep getting calls and the video keeps getting paused. So before we start with the conversation, I just wanted to introduce you to everybody who has joined us here. And I can tell, Dimple, I was really impressed when I actually went back and read so much more about you. The I wanted to read more about the award you got, but then I ended up reading so much about you, and I'm so impressed. And I think everybody who will after this know what Dimple does and has done before. I think it's going to blow your minds. So Dimple was an investment banker heading mergers and acquisitions in New York City. And then came her true calling. She came back to India. She almost revived Ayurveda for her clients. And her startup called the Prana Healthcare now deals with Ayurveda and the science behind Ayurveda and everything to do with happy and healthy living. And I think it's an honor to have you here, Dimple.
So sweet of you. That's really kind of you. And like I said, I'm really impressed with the
Dimple, I
amount of
think I'm
research you guys
losing.
did. Am I okay now? Is my voice okay now?
Yeah,
Is
it's
there a
better.
okay? All right. Sometimes it happens in the beginning because of the whole COVID-19 situation. Everybody is online
Yes,
on Netflix and Amazon, so data starts becoming a little
correct.
sluggish there. So thank you so much for that kind introduction. I really appreciate what you said. In fact, just to add a quick line, before I was an investment bank, I did a whole lot of circus. I was a TV producer in CNBC TV 18, producing stock market shows in 2010. And I was a TV reporter before that in 2009. And I was in advertising before that. So I did four different careers before I found my true calling in Ayurveda. And
Yes.
it's wrong for me to say that I found Ayurveda. It's the other way around. Ayurveda found me, and I'm so grateful for this journey.
Ayurveda.
Tell me,
Yes.
Pooja, tell me,
Oh,
what would you
yeah.
like?
So I wanted to tell people that so Dimple was a news reporter with News 9 before, so if I'm not wrong, correct? And then you went on to be a producer with CNBC TV 18. Yes.
Look at that. I'm so impressed. Like,
I
yesterday I
think
was
I'm
actually blown over. I was pretty exhausted yesterday because, we have these online classes going on, right, in Ayurveda. And I don't know, I was just exhausted, 1 month of teaching. And we don't realize during quarantine, because we don't have the continuum of space. We're inside the house. We don't take a car and go to work and then come back home and then do gym activities outside. We don't have that continuum of space. So sometimes what happens, you misjudge. You misjudge how much work you're doing or not. So a couple of my friends and we experienced this crash, which was a bit unreal. Like my Pilates teacher and my friend Myra Johnson also experienced it. And she said, for some reason, her body completely crashed. And I said, do you realize in the last 4 weeks, we've been working continuously without the idea of a Monday and a Sunday.
Correct.
Without the idea of space. So what happens? You miscalculate how much work your body is capable of and you crash. And yesterday I had one of those surreal crashes. And then your messages popped in my newsfeed and I was like, really? Where did you get this picture from?
So I think...
It brightened up my day. It brightened up my day, if I'm saying.
On this live session, I should thank Varun. You did a great job here.
Bravo, Varun.
So now let's jump into a question which I think everybody has. Why Ayurveda?
Why Ayurveda? I'm so glad you brought it up. Now tell me something, with this COVID-19 situation, there's an unseen enemy there, right? This is literally like a World War III situation, if I might exaggerate and add. What happened after World War I and World War II? Lots of countries, a lot of economies were completely wiped out. Countries were at war against each other. World War III, which is the corona situation, is a different situation. Countries are not at war against each other. All the countries are at war against one enemy that they cannot see, touch, and feel. How surreal is this? This is like an alien attack, right?
Correct.
It feels very surreal. It's like the Independence Day movie, something has suddenly come and the whole world has stopped functioning. And all those science fiction movies that Hollywood made, good Lord, everything is coming true at the moment.
Correct.
Right? Now, you have the situation outside. Has Western medicine, has any other modern science or research-based groups found a vaccine to the situation? All the world's forces put together haven't been able to find a cure for this, right?
Correct.
What's happened? We're all quarantined. We're all quarantined within the confinements of our own home, and sometimes it's frustrating. What has withstood the test of time is not these frustrations, these wars, or these epidemics. They will not withstand the test of time. They will come and go. The only thing that has withstood the test of time, even more than humanity, has been Ayurveda, because it has been there for 5,000 years. Must say something about it, right? For 5,000 years it existed. It was invented 5,000 years ago, discovered. And in the last 5,000 years, multiple wars, invasions, world wars, epidemics, name it, all kinds of tsunami, climate catastrophes have happened, climatic condition change, dinosaurs got wiped out, everything has happened, right? Ayurveda hasn't got wiped out, even though it has become a little weak, in the sense the awareness and consciousness of Ayurveda being a preventive healthcare system got lost over a period of time. And we blame our history for it because, in the last 300, 400 years, we were invaded by multiple forces. Like for the last 1,000 years, in fact, India has been invaded a lot by, the Mughal dynasty, the Ottomans, the Turks, the French, the Danish, name it, the Dutch and not the Polish, of course, the Dutch and everyone. What happened is our Vedas started getting destroyed. Our library of Vedas started getting destroyed. When the British came 300 years ago, 400 years ago, they had shut down all Ayurvedic colleges, saying Western medicine will be the first line of medicine, and henceforth Ayurveda, homeopathy, naturopathy, all of this will become alternative medicine. After the British left, the colleges were again started by the Indian government. But what happened was there was a massive time gap. There also happened a communication gap. Ayurveda is practiced in regional languages, and now suddenly English is our official language. English was never an official language about 300, 400 years ago. So there's a language gap that has happened. There's a communication gap. There is a time gap that has happened. Over a period of time, what happens is Ayurveda gets improvised by the new foods and fruits and vegetables that you're discovering, right? But 300, 400 years, there was no research and development done in the field of Ayurveda. That time gap is the reason why people lost faith in Ayurveda, and also because we started looking towards the West for solutions. Might I say, the West is looking towards the East for solutions. Okay, curative healthcare has a limitation. It's a symptomatic treatment. They shut down the symptoms, but they cannot cure the disease from the roots. Western medicine is great for acute diseases like a heart attack or a fracture or an accident. You must rush to an allopath or a Western medicine doctor or to a surgeon. You must. Okay, if you have a heart attack, don't come to an Ayurvedic doctor. We right now don't have the tools anymore to conduct a surgery. Back in the days, surgery was invented by Ayurveda. All right. Now, if there is a disease that has been in the body for more than 14 days, it is called chronic disease. Who can treat it? An Ayurvedic doctor can treat it. Okay. Ayurveda has the science that deals with the disease at the root cause level, not at the symptom level. We go to the root cause and uproot the disease from your body. Okay, that's another thing. There are 8 branches to Ayurveda. Ayurveda was discovered 5,000 years ago by Dhanvantri, by actually Brahma. Brahma passed it on to the physicians in heaven, Ashwini brothers, who passed it on to a whole lot of people. And then Dhanvantri is called the father of modern Ayurveda, who appeared on Dhanteras on earth with a pot of 100-year-old ghee that looked like gold. And we mistook Dhanteras to be the celebration of gold. It's actually the celebration of that 100-year-old ghee that was a cure for all maladies.
Wow.
So, that's how Ayurveda started. And see, it's withstood the test of time and humanity, right? Human beings come and go. We live for 80 years, 90 years. But the preventive healthcare science in Ayurveda has withstood the test of time, which means it is very strong. Not only that, it is rooted in nature. It's the only science that is not symptomatic. It goes to the root cause of the disease. And it's called the mother of all healing systems because your allopathy, Western medicine, cosmetic surgery, acupressure, acupuncture, Reiki, Theramai originated from Ayurveda. Even homeopathy, naturopathy originated from Ayurveda. That's why it's called the mother of all healing systems. There are 8 branches of Ayurveda, if I might just highlight that. There is child health care, which is pediatrics. There is internal medicines, which is all the herbologist. There is fertility, which includes gynecological treatment for women and fertility treatment for men. There is gentology, which is treatment for senior citizens. There is cosmetic surgery. Cosmetic surgery was invented by Ayurveda 3,000 years ago when Sushruta conducted the first cosmetic surgery for someone whose nose was crooked or like a hawk, vulture nose. You know the vulture nose that most Renaissance artists showed in their paintings?
Yes.
So the vulture nose was corrected by Sushruta, a cosmetic surgeon 3,000 years ago. Vanity is not a modern invention. Vanity existed even back then. Makeup existed even back then. Okay, natural colors, right? And they also did a surgery for a warrior who came back from war missing a ear. So they grafted the skin from the cheek to make a ear for him. So surgery was invented in Ayurveda, went to the West and became popular. Acupressure, acupuncture was invented in India, in Ayurveda, and went to China and started becoming a separate discipline thanks to their dedication. Okay, thanks for their dedication. Similarly, there is something called Kalari Payattu, which is also like a sister concern to Ayurveda. It's a martial art, traditional martial art. It's called the mother of all martial arts. Your karate, taekwondo, kung fu, all of these originated from Kalari Payattu and went towards the east, China, and started becoming other names. So Ayurveda covers all 8 branches. There is also psychosomatic health in Ayurveda, by the way, which talks about mental and emotional health. There is also Bhoot Pret, which covers a little bit of astrology and, external forces like, Corona is like an external force. You can't see, touch or feel. It's like an alien.
Correct.
So it also talks about that. So Ayurveda is a very thorough science, if I might say, internal, external. There's also ENT, which is a separate vertical in Ayurveda. So we actually have someone who specializes just in ENT. And there is something called general physician, general healthcare science, which basically does, cold, cough, fever, allergies and stuff like that. It's a very comprehensive science. Mother of all healing systems, oldest healthcare system. What better reason can you have to practice it?
Yes. And it's as made in India as it can get.
So what happens? Remember the sun rises in the east and sets in the west?
Correct.
Okay. So what happens when it rises in the east? It's written in the Quran as well, that if you get sick, go towards the east for a cure. Because east is where the herbs can grow in bountiful. Herbs and plants require the first rays of sunlight to start growing. And India just got lucky because it's positioned, globally in such a way. Darjeeling receives the first few rays of the sun in India. And Kerala is just blessed with the abundance of nature, earth, water, fire, air, and space, which allows herbs to grow in large quantity, which is why Ayurveda originated from Kerala. You have to originate the science where the herbs grow, right? And from there, it was spread across India and other parts of the world as well. It's just that because Kerala didn't get invaded as much as the rest of the country, like Delhi got invaded a lot by the Mughals and the British and everyone, Kerala was able to preserve the tradition. Even now, if you go to Kerala, I went for a business meeting to Vaidyarathnam, who's our supplier of medicines. And I was wearing a hot pink body cocoon dress from New York. And I went to a business meeting thinking, I'm going to seal this deal. I'm going to get this supply. I'm going to, give me all the 650 classical medical formulations so I can set up business in Bombay. And I enter the room. There were 9 men One person was wearing trousers. The other 8 men were wearing wraparound white skirt. And I was like, oh my God, I can't speak Malayalam. What do I do now? And they spoke perfect English. Highly educated people, highly qualified. They just stayed true to their traditional roots. They didn't forget where they came from. That's the reason why Kerala has been able to preserve the tradition. And there is Kerala Ayurveda, there is also Maharashtra Ayurveda and stuff like that. They have a little bit of variations, but yeah, you can say India is the place where it was born. India's gave birth to zero. Aryabhatta discovered zero. India gave birth to a lot of things.
Yes. So it's been, I think, 10 minutes into the session, and we've already received so many comments saying, I mean, everybody is going gaga over your knowledge. And Magical Health says she's going to do your course soon.
Looking forward to teach you. If I might just say, we are launching a course on May 4th, which is Monday. That's the 8th online batch that we're launching since quarantine, by the way. Today, I bid farewell to the 7th batch. 25 students. It was a emotional farewell for me to say bye to my students because they're part of Prana family. Once you're part of it, you're forever part of it. The 8th batch is starting, which is also technically the 28th batch from Prana, is starting on Monday, 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. so that Americans and Europeans can join as well. Just send us a direct message. We'll be very happy to teach you guys.
Wow. So everybody keep note, and in case you have any doubts, you can directly DM Dimple at Prana by Dimple Jangra or Dimple Jangra directly. Or if you're getting confused, I will pin it on this. Let me see, how can I pin this? Dimple.
So kind. Pooja, I'd love for you to come as well.
Sure, definitely.
I'll send you the information. I'll be very happy to have you study.
So I have tagged her here. If you can go see the message, and that's her Instagram handle. If at all you're still confused, DM it to us and we will make sure it reaches Dimple there.
Yeah, it's called Prana by Dimple Jangra. So Dimple Jangra is my personal handle. You can message me there also, it's fine. But Prana by Dimple Jangra is account, so my manager can access your messages.
So Prana by Dimple Jangra. Let me also plug that in. Prana by Dimple Jangra. Yeah. Okay, that's plugged in. So anybody who wants to talk to Dimple about the courses, you can connect on either of it, or you can send us a DM and we will make sure. Oh, so we already have 2 students for you, Dimple. So Tanu says, thank you. I would love to join.
Most welcome, Tanu. Probably see Pooja also in class.
So Tanu was excited. So the moment your post went up, I think she was the most excited to attend Ayurveda because she believes in the power of Ayurveda, and I think she was more excited than any other session, and she was like, this is going to be my favorite session. I know that for sure. And it looks like people are already enjoying Ayurveda so much. And I wonder why we don't talk about it more.
I'll tell you why it's now picking up in glamour and fame, because we have young people like you wanting to talk about Ayurveda. Young people like Pooja and your research team and Tanu, you're curious. You know, what has happened in the previous generation? Our parents were so busy working hard, trying to provide for us because, you know, they had to migrate from traditional languages to official languages during their generation. Like our parents had to learn English for the first time. Our grandparents were busy during the Freedom War and stuff like that. So what happened? Our grandparents practiced Ayurveda at home, but our parents got so busy surviving and providing for a good future for you, they stopped practicing Ayurveda. So my mother didn't practice Ayurveda. My father didn't. And I was getting sick all the time. And I was like, I'm tired of being cut open and going through these surgeries again and again. I'm done 4 surgeries before the age of 20. This is ridiculous. And I chanced upon Ayurveda and it changed the way I lived. I mean, I stepped down from investment banking and I felt like it was a massive step down. You know, like financially, if you look at it, it's not as glamorous. You don't have as much money as you did when you were an investment banker. Like I could live off my savings from investment banking for a whole year without working. I can't do that anymore. But it's okay. You know, the gratification that you get from Ayurveda is so immense. You know, when I say bye to my students, it gets so emotional. Everyone's like writing messages. When patients get better and start walking for the first time, I've seen multiple sclerosis patients walk for the first time, 2 of them. I've seen a paralysis patient speak for the first time. Gallbladder stones dissolving. My own father, he avoided a surgery. Kidney stones dissolving. I avoided my 5th surgery. I have seen miracles happen every single day when you put the placebo effect in the right place. And when you have young generation, like, you know, my team is full of young people. You will not believe me. They're all 23, 25, 27 years old. There is Meher, there is Gunjan, Jignasha, Pranav. Pranav's entire team of graphic designers are barely 23, 24. My entire digital team is young, 20s. And the recent interviews that I've given are to all young generation people like yourself who are so passionate about, reliving the Indian tradition and preserving the Indian heritage. So it's thanks to people like you.
I think you're just being very, very humble. Thank you for doing this and letting others know what Ayurveda can magically do. So, Dimple, what was your? I think we've heard why you chose Ayurveda, or now what was the inspiration behind starting Prana?
Oh my God, this will be a full book, but I'll try to keep it brief. Okay, I had a turbulent life, if I might admit. I had an abusive marriage when I was 22, and I got out alive with great difficulty. I was abused for a lot of reasons. I got out at the age of 24, and I couldn't understand, what I should do with my life. So I said, okay, let's start making a lot of money. People will respect me. And then I became, I studied MBA. I became a gold medalist in MBA because I had insomnia, the fear of falling asleep. So I ended up studying all day, all night, and I became a gold medalist in economics of all subjects, economics and finance and international business. And then while I was still studying, I became a TV reporter in News9. I thought, some glamour, some fame will do good. So I had my 60 seconds of fame. I went on air every 1 hour, reporting from this country or that country or this city and that city. Technically, I was sitting in a studio and saying I'm reporting from Bangalore, reporting from Chennai. Okay, so I had my 60 seconds of fame there, and then I wanted to become more powerful, so TV producer happened, and I then picked up investment banking, went to New York. I was heading a lot of big transactions. But on December 24th, I remember particularly, in 2014, I just woke up feeling numb and empty. I couldn't understand why. I was living a high-rise life. I was flying business class around the world. I was sitting with the who's who of New York City and Chicago, talking business. And I was just feeling empty. My wardrobe was fantastic. Everything was great. People were praising me. My parents were so proud of me. And I was like, what's going on? I couldn't understand the meaning of my own life. I was like, why do I exist? Is it to make money for myself? And that emptiness shook me, because it's better to feel happy, angry, sad, frustrated, depressed. Not depressed. Depressed is not a good feeling. Angry, frustrated, where you can shout and scream. But when you have that numb, empty feeling where you don't know, you don't know how to scream, you don't know how to shout, lose your voice. And I was like, I'm done. I packed my bags and I left it in New York and moved to Bombay. Back, I moved to Chennai, and I took a year's sabbatical traveling around the world, trying to discover the true source of happiness. It gave me happiness in the beginning, traveling around the world. I did 10 countries in 11 months. But then after that, even that happiness started disappearing. And I was like, where do I get more of this? Then I did Rajasthan, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka alone on a road trip. And my parents thought I'd gone crazy. Why would you want to travel alone in your own country? Like, it was ridiculous. And Rajasthan is my hometown. And they're like, why do you want to go to Rajasthan? Even we don't go. And I had an epiphany. I met this shepherd while I was going between Rajasthan to Gujarat. He was driving home 100 sheep maybe. And I went right in the middle of it, stopped my car. I was traveling alone. I had a car and driver, stopped in the middle. And I was taking pictures and videos of the sheep. And I was feeling so happy and thrilled. And I look at the shepherd and I said, oh, where are you going? He's like, I'm going home. I said, okay. He looked really happy. And I said, I was very intrigued by how he looked. He had this androgynous dressing, the skirt that they wear. The Rajasthani skirt, the dress with a wraparound skirt feeling. And I was dressed like a man, like, T-button, hair braided, pants. And I was looking at him, I was like, are you happy? He's like, yeah, that's like a weird question to ask. And I was like, oh my God. He's like, I'm going home to have dinner. I'm happy. Happiness was so easy for him. Going home to eat dinner was a source of happiness for him. I said, if I could put this happiness in a bottle and sell it, I'll be a multimillionaire. So I was like, how do I sell happiness? Not in the form of drugs, alcohol, or smoking. How do I do happiness without causing damage to the environment, with zero carbon footprint if possible, without engaging in non-veg meat, alcohol, smoking? How do I do this? Like, how do I create value and make it sustainable? That's when I chanced upon Ayurveda when I went to Kerala. I was like, if I'm unhealthy, that's giving happiness, right? I think Pooja's video is paused. I'll continue talking. Pooja's back. Hi, Pooja, you're back. For a minute.
Yeah, I think we lost you at the end.
I lost you
We were
too.
just finishing the Rajasthan story.
Basically, I met the shepherd and I was like really intrigued by his happiness, and I wanted to sell happiness in a bottle. And the easiest way to sell happiness in a bottle was Ayurvedic medicine. So I realize health is equal to happiness, right? If you're happy, you're healthy.
Correct.
You cannot be happy without health. They exist together.
Definitely. Correct.
Mental health, emotional health, physical health, they're all interconnected.
Definitely. So we just spoke about Ayurveda. Would you say Ayurvedic medicines don't have any side effects? Because at least that's what I've heard.
Ideally not, but if you take it wrong, please understand these are medicines, they're very potent. Okay, so we can't abuse these medicines. What happens, a lot of people end up researching online saying, oh, Ashwagandha is good, Shatavari is good, Google is good, let me take it. You can't take medicines just because you read about it on Google. Google is not your doctor. Okay, ideally meet an Ayurvedic doctor. Find out if you need the medicines, only then have it first of all. Rule number 1, don't take medicines if you don't need it. Your body will start reacting to it. Rule number 2, medicine should be consumed only for 15 days for the first phase. After that, you have to reconsult back to the doctor to see if your body has improved. If yes, you stop the medicines, wean off and go back to food. Rule number 1 in Ayurveda, make food your medicine, don't make medicine your food. So when we meet our patients, we always correct that diet first, because if food is wrong, medicine of no use. But if food is right, there is no need for medicine. That's rule number 1 in Ayurveda. Yeah. So don't take medicines unless you've met an Ayurvedic doctor. Don't take herbs at home unless you've studied Ayurveda.
So guys, if you have any question, you can comment here and we'll have Dimple answer them. So again, I'll come to my question. So I think immunity is going to be a very big issue during this COVID time, because go out as often, we don't get to exercise as often. So what would you say some Ayurvedic remedies to boost our immunity?
Do at home? Okay, first of all, you cannot fight the virus on your own, because the whole world put together hasn't figured out. Even Trump hasn't figured out. The most powerful country in the world hasn't figured it out, right? What you can do is, preventive healthcare is better than curative healthcare, which means you prevent getting sick. How do we do that? You stay strong by exercising every day for 45 minutes at least. But if you haven't slept, haven't eaten well, don't exercise that day. Sleep is very important. The 3 pillars of Ayurveda, I will repeat. First is nutrition, second is sleep, and third is either sex or physical activity. That's what it says, right? So when I say sex, it also means celibacy. It doesn't mean that you have to go engage in intimacy. It doesn't mean that. It means physical activity of some sort. These are the 3 pillars of Ayurveda for Prajani and for the humanity to exist. Second, what you do, stay strong. That means exercise for 45 minutes. Eat healthy, eat clean. Okay, there are a series of things that I will talk about, during the session. Third, boost your immunity. Boosting your immunity means setting up a China wall. Maybe not a China wall, because, Corona came from there, so let's not say China wall. setting up a wall around you, a defense fort, like the Mughals did and the Marathas did. Set up a wall around you so that the virus cannot enter, first of all. And even if it enters, your immunity should be able to destroy that virus. That's the whole idea. 4, stay positive, because if you are not positive, it will weaken your immune system and that will become a home to the virus again. These are the 4 things you do. Now, how to boost your immunity? I'm going to delve on it a little more in detail. Dadima ki nana ke nukse. A glass of milk with haldi in it. I'm wearing haldi colored dress to remind you again. Haldi doodh is the solution to almost half the maladies in the world, as per Dadima, and I don't debate with her. She's right. Take a glass of milk, put half a teaspoon of haldi, either have it in the morning or at bedtime. That is rule number 1. Okay, haldi. Second, Chyawanprash. It's available around the world now. Vaidyaratnam, Kotakal, Aryavedasala, Nagarjuna, Dabur Chyawanprash, Patanjali. I think we've lost the video again. So I don't know if...
No, I think
Pooja lost. Okay, great. So you can, right? And I think my video is streaming still.
Yeah.
Yes, you're back. You're back. So rule number 2, have 1 teaspoon of Chyawanprash every day. Chyawanprash is suitable for all 3 doshas. Ideally, Pitta dosh during summers, do not take Chyawanprash because it's too hot. But take at least 1 teaspoon of Chyawanprash every day and follow it with a glass of milk and haldi. Rule number 2.
Sorry, follow-up question. What's Pitta dosh?
Okay, there are 5 elements in the body: earth, water, fire, air, and space. There are 5 elements in the planet, in the universe, and in the human body also. All plants, animals, fruits, vegetables, living, non-living objects are made only from these 5 elements. There's nothing else, right? If I break down the atom to the most molecular position, it is only 5 elements. Now, when these 5 elements come together, they become the 3 building blocks or the biological blocks of the human body. When water and earth comes together, it becomes kapha, which is a biological water that binds things. So it builds your bones, muscles, tissue, nails, teeth, hair. It binds things together and gives you structure, support, and stability to the body. When water and fire comes together, it becomes pitta dosh, and that is basically the fire in your body that digests things. So pitta dosh is responsible for all chemical and metabolic transformations in the body. Okay, including the perception in your eye, your blood, your fat, your skin color changing, the food getting digested in the stomach. All that is because of pitta dosh. And even nutrients getting converted into cells and plasma, blood, tissues, muscles, sperm, egg. All of that transformation happens due to pitta dosh. The third dosha is vata. It's basically air and space coming together. It's one of the most important doshas because it governs the other two blocks. This is made of air and space, and it's the bodily wind principle that moves things. Without vata dosh, you're just basically a vegetable for life. Okay, you can have the structures, support, stability, and the heat in the body and the chemical transformation. But if you don't have vata, you can't move. All your locomotive abilities, your ability to think, your ability to breathe, the respiratory system, your blood circulating, the food moving from the stomach to the intestines to the colon, the baby getting pushed out of the mother's body, all that is because of the vata dosh. Okay, so Chyawanprash is great for all three doshas, going back to the immunity boosters. Only pitta dosh during summer can go a little easy on it, increase body heat. Instead, what you can brush and balance it with a glass of milk. Don't add turmeric to it so that your pitta doesn't get aggravated, because turmeric is also pitta, Chyawanprash is also pitta. Milk is kapha. Okay? So we basically eat foods to pacify our dosha. So say if I'm pitta dosh, I will eat vata and kapha foods to keep my body in balance, which means I'm high on pitta. I don't need more pitta in my body. So I'll eat vata, kapha foods. If I'm vata, it means my body is high on vata dosh. I eat pitta and kapha foods. You can do a dosha quiz on our website. It's called www.pranabydimplejangra.com. It's for free. Anybody can log in. In fact, Pooja, I'll be giving you a complimentary consultation after this. I want you to experience Ayurveda end to end. I want you to experience that. What will happen is, once you do the dosha quiz, you'll figure out what dosha you are. Are you a Vata, Pitta, or Kapha? First, find out what your Prakriti is, and then incorporate Ayurvedic diet in your lifestyle. Yeah? So, immunity booster, like I said, Haldi Doodh. Second was Chyawanprash. Third is you can have 1 amla per day. Amla is anti-carcinogenic, anti-inflammatory. It is equal to 1,000 lemons. It will boost your vitamin C, your immunity like crazy. You can also have other herbs like Guduchi, Brahmi. Brahmi is excellent for the brain and memory power. Guduchi is excellent for antibacterial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory properties. Have a piece of ginger before every meal, before breakfast, lunch, and dinner, especially during this time, because it'll boost your immunity in this part of the body. And this part of the body is what gets affected by coronavirus, your throat and your chest and lungs. So you need to boost your immunity in this region. There's a great recipe I'll give you. Take 1 teaspoon organic honey, half teaspoon of grated ginger, a pinch of pepper, and a pinch of turmeric. Mix it, make a paste. Do not add milk. Do not add water. Take it raw. It'll strengthen your bronchial health and your sinuses. It'll drain all the bacteria and virus into your throat so you can spit it out. Once your bronchial health is strengthened, you will be able to face any kind of virus and bacteria out there.
Wow. So anybody who wants to go back to this so this will be shared to the story, and we will be sharing this on IGTV. So you can go back and listen to Dimple's recipe again if anybody's tuning in later, or anybody cannot remember it or hasn't written it down. So go back and listen to it again. Dimple, we have a lot of audience questions coming in. I think we can start with them. First of all, a lot of compliments coming in. Everybody is saying respect, you speak gold, write a book.
I should write a book, hoping to find a little time for that. The online academy just started a month ago. They're doing fantastic. We're launching masterclass now, which will be pre-recorded videos available at a discount. Once that is up, I swear, guys, I'll take a holiday and I'll start writing that book. I started it and then I don't know what happened. Full of excuses.
So Magical Health asks, will we learn about herbs in your course, like how to take according to our body type?
Yes, you'll learn some basic herbs like ashwagandha, shatavari, gugul. I'll also be sharing a lot of health recipes like the one that I just said. There are like about 8 to 10 recipes that we've designed in-house. I'll also be sharing with you how to design your own diet chart for Kapha, Pitta, Vata. You'll basically learn, first is Panchamahabhut, the 5 elements. Then you learn Tridosha, the 3 doshas. Then you learn Shadrasa, which are the 6 tastes, which you can use to balance your dosha. How do you use the taste? You learn gunas, the 20 gunas, the qualities of food which you can use to balance your dosha balance. Then you'll also learn immunity booster recipes. You will learn panchakarma, which is the 5 ways of detoxifying the body. You will learn mono dieting and different kinds of fasting, gut health and colon health. And also you'll understand how much time does it take for different kinds of foods to get digested, what combination of foods to use. And you will learn, what is the last one? Panchakarma and Saptadhatu, the 7 tissues in the body. This is a syllabus we're covering. And we'll very briefly touch upon skincare and hair care because that's a detailed subject altogether with Meher Jadwani. We will touch this, and I'll also share a lot of recipes on different kinds of oils you can use for massaging your body and to balance your dosha. So these are things that we will share, definitely.
Wow. I mean, I think I'm already, I am going to be your student next.
I have a special gift for you after this.
So Sharmili asks, so when you say Ayurveda can help avoid surgeries, are there any prerequisites? Like how far can Ayurveda help in treating a uterine prolapse without undergoing?
Okay, listen, don't try to attempt things at home, first of all. Don't try this at home. Meet an Ayurvedic doctor and start the medication and see the results. If it's a fatal condition, the doctor herself or himself will say, I'm sorry, the condition is very chronic and advanced. You shouldn't waste any more time. You must get it surgically removed, be it a tumor or a lump or something. I was able to avoid my fifth surgery by using castor oil to dissolve some lumps in my body, which I thought was not life-threatening anymore. We were also able to gallbladder stones for my father by using Ayurvedic medicine for 1 month. And he had multiple stones of 10 mm each. Now he has only 2 stones, 6.7 and 3.5 mm. He was able to avoid a gallbladder surgery. And we have to do a muscle checkup again to see the status of the stones. Kidney stones, he's been able to dissolve it himself by drinking a lot of water every day. It's a little painful, but it worked. I had a journalist who came to me saying, you know, there was a lot of blood in the urine. And he didn't want an Ayurvedic treatment, so we just put him on medication for 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, he sent me a picture of the kidney stone saying for the first time in his life, he passed a kidney stone painlessly without bleeding, and he was able to avoid it. So surgeries can be avoided, but please be careful. Don't, you know, just get carried away by things that you hear, you know, because I don't like fanaticism of any kind. The reason why it's happening today is because of our fanatic, addictive attitude to antibiotics and steroids. What has happened? There are billions of bacteria in the air, okay, and it's always existed. And this is something that Kavita Mukhi, the founder of Farmers Market, Organic Farmers Market at De Monte Park, wrote. She wrote an article 20 years ago when SARS happened, and she said the reason we're suffering is our body should ideally acclimatize to every new bacteria and virus it meets, right? It should acclimatize. Like chickenpox, once you've got chickenpox, your body already has the bacteria, it will not get sick again. But what has happened, because we've abused our body with antibiotics and steroids so long, our immune system has started shutting down, and now we don't know how to acclimatize to different bacteria and virus. And now even the smallest virus is threatening our existence. 20,000 people with, you know, testing positive for corona. How many people have died, unfortunately, around the world? You know, with preempted conditions. That's why I say boost your immunity. If you don't have any preempted symptoms and diseases, the chances of you getting COVID-19 is very less. And the chances of you surviving is far more greater and better. Not just at a physical level, even at a mental and emotional level, you have to boost your immunity.
Correct. So, Dimple, just another, I think, unrelated question, but do you do online consultations also?
Yes, we just recently started. So what we did was earlier our doctors were traditionally practicing Ayurveda because we wanted to do Nadi Pariksha, right? And Nadi Pariksha is done with touch. But we realized the demand for Ayurveda went up in the last 3 weeks even more because people were looking for solutions for anxiety, stress, body pain. And you know, insomnia is becoming very common. Anxiety and insomnia is becoming so common because there's a very uncertain future. We don't know what the future is anymore.
Correct.
No kind of long-term planning can work anymore. All our plans are gone down the drain. Like I wanted to go to France and I wanted to do this and that. Everything has gone down the drain. I can't make plans anymore because the universe is controlling everything now.
Exactly.
So we decided to go online. Our doctors are traditional, but they learned how to do video consultation on WhatsApp. You can book a consultation, direct message Prana by Dimple Jangra. My manager will send you the details for diagnosis first. You have to fill up a form and then they'll put up a video consult with the doctors. And if you want a diet consultation with me, she'll also set up a video consult with me.
Perfect. So anybody who wants consultation, please go. Again, I've pinned Prana by Dimple Jangra. You can directly DM them. And again, I'm really excited this. So
you will be experiencing it tomorrow.
So Kavish asks, what does Ayurveda say about intermittent fasting?
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Ayurveda says follow the circadian rhythm. Okay. Now, intermittent fasting, guys, I find that most of you are doing it wrong. I'll tell you what's happening. Lots of people are waking up at 10 or 11 in the morning and doing intermittent fasting from, say, 2 in the morning to 2 in the evening. And then they have a first meal in the afternoon. That's really bad. Intermittent fasting means rise with the sun, start eating with the sun, a small meal. And when the sun is at the peak, have your biggest meal. That's a circadian rhythm. When the sun starts setting, have your smallest meal. After the sun sets, stop eating. Simple. Rise with the sun, set with the sun. If you stop eating after sunset, you will sleep really well. Your digestion will be at the peak. Food will not rot in your stomach. Your metabolism will be high. Your body starts repairing damaged tissues, muscles, and organs between 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., which means your stomach should be empty and fully digest, and it should fully digest the food before you go to sleep. So if you eat dinner by 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, by 10 p.m. the food is digested, and when you go to sleep, your brain has all the time to repair damages of the day, right? So intermittent fasting, 16 hours is excellent for a kapha dosh. Find out your dosha and then write this down, what is good for what. Pitta dosh can do 12 to 14 hours. Don't do excessively because pitta is high on fire. They tend to get hunger pangs very quickly. They must in fact have their first meal of the day faster. By 7 a.m. they should have the first meal. Otherwise, the hunger pangs will give them irritability and they get short-tempered. Have you met someone who turns into a monster when they're hungry? I'm one of those people.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah,
If I haven't eaten my lunch,
hangry.
don't talk to me. Angry. Okay? In fact, my staff knows that if Dimple Ma'am has not eaten lunch, don't talk to her. Don't ask her questions. Because then I'll bite your head off. I was like, don't talk to me. And they'll laugh about it. Vata should not do intermittent fasting for too long because the body is dry and rough. 12 hours is enough. If you don't lubricate your body with food and greasy foods like oil and ghee and digestive teas, the dryness and roughness will start causing irritability as well. So intermittent fasting is 12 for Vata, 14 for Pitta, 16 for Kapha, who can afford to lose weight. Okay, that's good, but follow the circadian rhythm. Rise with the sun, set with the sun.
So Anmol asks, does Ayurveda have any hacks to get super slim?
Oh yes, totally. You know what Ayurveda believes in? The word Panchakarma means 5 acts of detoxifying the body. Detoxification means letting go of toxins, heavy metals, preservatives, undigested food, tumors, stones, preservatives from your body, right? What happens when you let go of toxins? You lose weight. That is rule number 1. How do we measure the success of Panchakarma? Is by figuring out how much weight you've lost. I've had patients losing 1 kg in 1 day. That's the amount of water retention that came out of them. I've had patients losing 3.5 kgs in 3 days, 4.5 kgs in 9 days, 9 kgs in 1 month, and looking amazing. Not looking sick and weak like a crash diet, but looking amazing. Sharp jawline, lost a lot of weight. Wrinkles disappeared for some people.
Wow.
Okay? Because the collagen became tight. 9 kgs, they didn't do 1 month treatment. They just did an 8-day Panchakarma treatment. They released all the toxins. It's like basically cleaning the drainage pipe of your house. Your drainage pipes is your intestines, okay? Small intestine is 20 feet long. Large intestine is 6 feet long, 28 feet of pipes, and then the colon. If I cleanse the small intestine, large intestine, and colon, and enhance the good bacteria and remove all the toxins, the pipes are squeaky clean. After the 8-day Panchakarma, you'll continue to lose weight. And in 1 month, I've had doctors, gynecologists, losing 9 kgs. The first rule of Ayurveda is thinning of the body. Thinning of the body means letting go of fat also that is unnecessary and bringing the body back to its natural state of health. Only Vata Prakriti, which is very skinny, we don't do thinning of the body. We do strengthening of the body and increasing the appetite. So Pitta and Kapha, go to an Ayurvedic clinic and you'll be able to lose weight.
So first get your test done on the website, and Pitta and Vata, you can go to a Ayurvedic clinic, or again DM Prana by Dimple Jangda. So Shanti asks, do we add sugar or shakkar to haldi doodh?
If you're a Vata Prakriti, you'll have a sugar craving. Even if you're Pitta, you'll have a sugar craving. If you really can't resist, please make sure that you don't have refined sugar in your kitchen at all. Refined white sugar is really dangerous. It's worse than drugs. Replace it with jaggery or kadi shakkar. You know kadi shakkar mistri, which is called kodi sugar in English. The mistri that you get in the temple.
The bigger one.
That's a great sweetener. It actually reduces your body temperature and heat. It's excellent, gets dissolved very slowly in the digestive system, which means it gets absorbed slowly, which means it will not give you a sugar rush. Have kadi shakkar if you can't have milk with haldi. I love the taste of milk and haldi, but if you're a Vata Prakriti, it sounds like you'll have a sugar craving. So have misri in it or jaggery. Do not mix honey in hot milk or water. Honey becomes poisonous if it's mixed in anything above 37 degrees Celsius.
Okay, so this is new information and organic honey. That's another
Organic
point. I think
honey,
you mentioned
but
it
again,
earlier.
don't mix it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, don't mix it with hot milk. So Charu asks, what's your opinion on oat milk as opposed to normal cow milk?
It's fine. It's fine. So, a lot of people are becoming vegan for a reason because, what's happening with the milk that we're getting is it's very high on estrogen antibiotics, right? Cows are not being treated well. They kept it in factories instead of being kept in a farm, a cruelty-free, happy farm. What happens in a factory? They're attached to machines. They're injected with estrogen now, and they're forced to give birth every year. Okay, that is one. That starts affecting their health. They start releasing cortisol in the milk. They start releasing estrogen and pus and blood also into the milk. That's why a lot of people are going vegan. If you don't know the cow, don't drink the milk. There's a saying in Indonesia, if the cow is happy, the milk is healthy for you. If the cow is not happy, if the calf has been separated from the cow and has been tortured, the cow releases its negative emotions and sadness also into the milk. If you're vegan, oat milk is great, coconut milk is great, almond milk is great. I am not a big fan of soya milk because I ended up in surgery. The sinuses got inflamed due to soya milk. Soya milk comes from the factory. It doesn't come from the farm. It has no digestive enzyme in it. I do not recommend soya milk for any body type. And don't use tofu and all of these artificial replacements. If you really have to eat protein, eat the paneer. If you don't want to eat the paneer, have dahi or buttermilk or ghee. If you don't want to have that, if you want to be vegan, have dals. There are 300 varieties of dals in India. Tur dal, masoor dal, chana dal. How many do you have at home? Hardly 10. Go explore the dals. It's the richest source of protein for you guys. So oat milk and coconut milk is great. If you want to have haldi doodh, you can have it in oat milk and coconut milk also.
I think we've not received these many compliments here. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Dimple, for doing this. I think so. Varun, who did all the research, has a question, and he asks. So he has a very bad headache every morning when he wakes up, and he thinks it's because of pitta.
Yes. The headache is because of pitta. First of all, okay, it could be because of pitta and vata. It could be dryness and roughness of the central nervous system also. But your intuitive intelligence is saying pitta, then I agree with you. Pitta means excessive fire in the stomach, right? If the acids are getting collected in the stomach, by the time you wake up in the morning, it starts going up to the head, right? What you do at night, soak 1 teaspoon of sabja seeds or chia seeds in 1 glass of water. Wake up in the morning, you'll notice that the seeds have got swollen. Just drink the seeds and the water, empty stomach, or start your day with tender coconut water. Both will calm your pitta down in the morning. And it'll also alkalize your system, and cancer cannot exist in an environment that's alkaline. Rule number 1. Stop eating all spicy, excessively salty, sour, and oily foods. Remove these 4 ingredients from your diet. Have more sweet foods, astringent, and bitter foods. Astringent is foods that dry up the saliva in your mouth, like pomegranate, pineapple, raw banana. What they do is they reduce the water retention in your body, and sweet foods will calm the pitta down. Have ghee. Have ghee, it'll reduce your headache. 2 to 3 teaspoons of ghee per day will calm the fire down. Remove oil from your diet completely. Don't cook your vegetables in dals and oil. Just cook it in ghee for some time. Your headaches will reduce.
Okay. Varun, I hope that answer your questions. And Amanpreet asks, is ACV, I'm not sure what ACV means, but all lemon or chia seeds or anything else can help pitta body type consume early morning and also for clear skin and hair growth. Okay, so she wants to know what can she consume for clear skin and hair growth. Clear skin, thanks for asking this, Amanpreet, +1 on the question, Dimple.
Okay, let me look at the question because I didn't fully understand. I know there's a simple recipe for acidity. Someone's asking, who asked that question? ACV, you said? What is ACV again?
I am not sure. Tell, is ACV or lemon or chia seeds or anything else can pitta body type consume early morning?
Okay. For a pitta body type, what are the soaked fruits? Okay. What else you can consume is soaked raisins or soaked dates and figs. Soak raisins, dates and figs overnight. That will increase the kapha in your body. So what you do when pitta's high, apple cider vinegar. Okay, got it. Thank you so much. ACV is apple cider vinegar is a strict no for pitta. Okay, it will actually make your body more sour and give you headaches. Strict no for apple cider vinegar. The only also tender coconut water, and these are the only two things you can have in the morning. Third, you can have a digestive tea recipe, which is made with 1 teaspoon jeera, 1 teaspoon sauf, 1 teaspoon coriander seeds, 1 cardamom, and a pinch of ajwain, which is cassia seeds. Boil this in 500 ml of water, bring it to half and drink it empty stomach. That's also great. Have a bowl of fruits at 8 in the morning and 4 in the evening. When you eat fruits, either eat it alone or leave it alone. Don't mix it with anything else. That's also great. At bedtime, you can have a glass of milk with a half teaspoon of ghee in it. Even that will reduce the heat and the dryness in the system.
And any fruits okay, Dimple, in that case, if you say eat at 8 in the morning and 4 in the evening, any fruits okay?
No, there are certain fruits that are suitable for pitta. We do a food chart in our consultation wherein we tell you what fruits, vegetables, spices, nuts that are good for you. You have to avoid all heaty fruits and tangerine and sour fruits. So I will say no to lemon, oranges, lemon. What are the other sour fruits? Sour grapes, raw banana. I will also say no to sour mango or green mango. Even that's no. Persimmon, no. You can have other fruits. You can have apple. You can have peach, pear, watermelon, pomegranate, pineapple. All of these are good for you. So there are certain fruits that are good for pitta, certain fruits that are not good for pitta. You can do a personalized food chart with us, wherein we'll address your headaches. You can actually reverse your headaches and migraines with just food.
Wow, so I think my mother, if she's watching it, she'll be really excited, because the moment you say migraine, she's been suffering from migraine for over 30 years since I've known her, and since she was married. So easy 38 to 39 years, and all the allopathic medicines have not been very effective for her. So I think I will make her do a consultation with you too.
It sounds like I have a history of a lot of diseases. I suffered from migraines at the age of 20, and that was because my pitta was extremely high. Migraines are usually caused due to pitta imbalance. We will be happy to get you off all those pitta fruits and vegetables that you're eating every day. Like capsicum and radish is also pitta. Chili is pitta. Okay, fenugreek and mustard seeds are pitta. Sesame oil is pitta. You have to remove all of these ingredients from your diet. The minute you remove these ingredients and have only vata and kapha foods, your migraine will get cured on its own.
So Kavish says, I think he's going by the sunrise and sunset, because he says, I'm having my dinner right now and listening to you.
So good, so good. Okay, another rule. Okay, today you're listening to me. Don't do that next time. When you're eating food, switch off all electronics, including mobile phone and TV. But it's fine today when you're listening to this. What will happen? Your food will understand the intelligence of Ayurveda that you're listening to. Your food converts into whatever you're looking at or whatever emotions you're experiencing. If you're angry, the food also becomes angry in your stomach. If you're happy, the food also becomes happy. When you're eating, Ayurveda says, focus on it. First of all, thank the food because it gave its life for you to continue your life, right? Fruits, vegetables, dairy products, all of them have life in it. That is one. Rule number one, thank the food. Thank the cook. Don't forget the cook who cooked for you. So be grateful to your mother and your father and your brothers and sisters and your cook and chefs who made that food for you. Two, eat your food with your hands, because your hands send signals to the brain on what kind of saliva to create in the mouth. Then smell the food, be sure of it. Use your senses to figure out if the food is good. Back in the day, people could just tell from the smell if the food was poisoned or not. Okay? Then looking at the food consciously sends messages to the brain based on the color of the food on what kind of digestive juices to create in the stomach from the liver and the bile, gallbladder, and in the stomach as well. And then when you chew food, listen to it, understand how much you need to chew. There's a collective intelligence that's happening. Chew your food 32 times. Your mother said it when you were a child. She was right. She's always right. Don't argue with her. And then swallow the food. And after eating food, remember the rule, 80% of your appetite. If your appetite is this much, eat only 80%, because if you fill the blender up with food, what is going to happen? Will the blender run? No. The same rule applies to the stomach. Leave some space for the digestive juices to do its work, for the food to churn. And after eating food, don't drink water. Let it go into the intestines, wait for 1 hour, and then drink water. Don't mix fruits with vegetables. Don't mix vegetables with milk. Don't mix fruits with grains and pulses. Eat only one simple meal. Khichdi is the best dish. So if you're doing a mono dieting, do khichdi diet.
So this session, Instagram will 5 minutes, because it only lets you do a session for 1 hour. So I'll just quickly take a few questions. How to clean gut and have healthy gut? I think we all need that.
Okay, for gut, keeping your gut clean, like I said, follow the rhythm of the sun. One, when you wake up in the morning, have 200 ml of warm water, empty stomach, and then have a couple of digestive teas, at least 3 cups of water. then have a bowl of fruits, then have cooked breakfast, have the biggest meal for afternoon lunch. 4 in the evening, again have fruits and some metabolism tea or digestive teas, and have your dinner before sunset. That is one. Number 2, make sure that you've cleansed your colon, evacuated the waste out of your body before you start eating. Do not eat food, you've not eliminated waste. Just keep drinking water. Engage in fasting, water fasting, dry fasting, mono diet fasting, which is eating the same meal every day for 7 days. Panchakarma treatment, if once the quarantine ends, go do a Panchakarma treatment once a year, which is cleansing all the waste out of your body.
Okay. Wow. So Radhika, so everybody, if we are not able to answer your question here, do DM it to us or to Prana by Dimple Jangda. Or if I'm not imposing, if you can start once Instagram cuts us off at 6:30, can we start once again so that we have answered all the questions?
Listen, till the sun sets on me, until I have daylight on my face, I can continue answering questions.
Perfect. So Radhika asks, so Shanti asks, can we make vegan dahi at home?
Yeah. A lot of people are making dahi out of coconut milk. I don't know how they do it. I think it's a little complicated, but don't have dahi. Dahi is considered one of the heaviest meals in Ayurveda along with meat. Instead of having dahi, have buttermilk directly. So you can take coconut milk and add the spices to it, like cumin powder, salt, even grated cucumber to it. Have that directly as a buttermilk. Buttermilk is better than yogurt. Okay, so buttermilk doesn't require to make yogurt. You can directly use the coconut milk or the oat milk and make buttermilk. It's a little challenging. How to make dahi out of vegan ingredients is challenging.
Perfect. So in case we are not... Yeah. So
guys, we're happy to go live again. We might lose the questions when we go live again. You can post the questions. The last question I want to take up, can pitta imbalance people do fasting? Ideally, they're very difficult. They find it very difficult to do fasting because, the digestive fire is very high and they get hunger pangs and headaches if they don't eat. If you're pitta, first get your pitta balanced, keep it cool, and then engage in fasting. Don't do fasting if your pitta is high.
Okay. So anybody whose questions, if you're not able to answer here, please write it once again once we come back, because I can see we have easy another 20 more questions to go. So people, if you can again type the same thing out. I'm so sorry for this, but I blame Instagram.
No. Don't be sorry. You're doing a fantastic job, like wanting to answer these questions. Guys, loud shout. A shout out to Pooja, for wanting to host something that is so interesting. It's traditional. It's rooted in our heritage. It takes a lot of courage for younger generation to want to invest in this. So hats off to you for that.
Thank you for saying this. I think it's all Glow community and the people in the community who want to listen to all of this. So
congratulations, Glow community.
Let's reconnect again now.
Yes, happy to come back live.
And yes, see you guys in 2.
See you guys in 2 minutes.
Yes, we're back. I don't know, it suddenly just threw me out of the session.
It does. It's like you've spoken for too long, about Ayurveda. Let's talk about something else.
No, let's talk about Ayurveda more. So
sweet. I'm happy to talk. Like I said, sunset.
I think it's already setting. I can see you much more clearly now, but I think I am paused.
Yeah. I'll just take that other question. Can you see the other question that's come up? Easy way to identify a dosha kritika. I'll finish that answer. The thinnest body is usually vata prakriti. Medium build is pitta. And the heaviest and the thickest body type is kapha. But what happens nowadays is, even though you might be big body type, you might have pitta imbalance. Even though you're skinny, you might have pitta and kapha imbalance. So for that, it's better to do the dosha quiz. And 2, even after that, if you find it's confusing and you have too many doshas reflecting, do a Nadi Pariksha with an Ayurvedic doctor where they check your pulse and they tell you what dosha you are. Nowadays, we have multiple dosha imbalances. It's very difficult to find out on your own.
So again, go take this session on Prana by Dimple Jangda, and I think that should answer most of the questions that people have asked about their doshas. So Shraddha has a question, and she asks, would pitta and vata both are imbalanced, or can sesame oil be used for massage or to eat?
I'm just going to shout out to Holistic Co. She is Dr. Palakal, an osteopathic doctor from Florida who's joined us. Hi, Dr.
Oh.
Palakal. Waving back at you. The question is sesame oil, what did she ask for, Vata and Pitta?
Both are imbalancer. Can sesame oil be used to massage or to eat?
Yes. If Vata and Pitta is imbalanced. No, if Vata and Pitta both are imbalanced, please use cold pressed coconut oil in your cooking and in your massage. But if Vata and Kapha are imbalanced, then you use sesame oil. Don't use sesame oil for Pitta because sesame is hot, Pitta is already hot, and Pitta is imbalanced. You're only going to add more heat to it. So use cold pressed coconut oil for Vata and Pitta. For Vata and Kapha, use sesame oil.
Okay. And Radhika asks, can we drink? I think Radhika, you'd asked this in the last live video also. I'm so sorry we couldn't take it. But she asks, can we drink haldi milk in summer?
Yes, I think I was just about answering that question and we got interrupted. Haldi milk in summer is okay if you're Vata and Kapha. For a Pitta person who's already very hot, they might start sweating too much. They might end up getting pimples and bumps. I tend to experience that too. You know, if I have too much spicy food, my skin will start exploding. If you're a Pitta Prakriti, maybe during summer, go easy on the haldi doodh. Instead, have sabja water or tender coconut water.
Tender coconut. So Charu asks, if we don't have access to ghee, what is an alternative you suggest to cook with that is healthy?
If you don't have access to ghee, I doubt you won't have access to ghee. Around the world, ghee is available. If you're a vegan and don't want to touch ghee, we respect your ideas. What you do is have more coconut oil in your diet while cooking. And you can also have cold pressed coconut oil when you're drinking tea and coffee, 1 teaspoon. It's called the bullet chai or bullet coffee nowadays. That will lubricate your system and keep your GI tract well lubricated so that toxins don't get collected. They can move down smoothly and easily. It'll also keep your colon health at check. Engage in a lot of oil massages so that, you know, the dryness and roughness of the body can be reduced, because ghee is a great lubricant and you're not having that. It's fine. You can also have a lot of coconut milk in your diet, oat milk in your diet, almond milk. They're fine. Don't have soya milk again, I warn you. If you have a lot of other grain milk and plant-based milk, you'll be able to manage yourself.
Okay, guys, I think the sun is setting. So let's take 2 or 3 quick questions.
Before I start looking like a ghost.
Feel free to just keep it as short as possible. And if you guys need detailed answers to this, please Prana by Dimple Janga. I think I've said it way too many times. Everybody would have registered it by now. So is it okay to have soaked walnuts and pistachios with other soaked dry fruits in morning for Vata?
For Vata, all nuts are good. You soak all your nuts overnight. So it's great to soak your walnuts, your pistachio. Even though pistachio doesn't taste great when you soak it. So just skip pistachio because it's salty also. Salty is not good for you. Soak dates, figs, raisins, almonds, walnuts. Soak these 5 nuts and have it together. But the rule with nuts is have only 1 handful because the size of your stomach is the size of your fist. It's the same size. Don't overdo nuts. And if it's not soaked, if it's dry, it will cause Vata imbalance, especially for a Vata Prakriti. So yes, pre-soaked is better.
And Radhika asks, please tell me a good diet for 4-month C-section patients so that the body can heal properly.
Okay, 4-month C-section, first of all, if you have access to your grandmother or your mother's recipes, they make a lot of laddus, you know, with goond, which is a sticky gum. They make a lot of laddus with til, sesame, and soont, and even methi, fenugreek. These are great way to bring your body back to good health. Have a lot of ghee in your diet. Have a lot of milk also in your diet. Sourced from a cruelty-free cow farm because you're lactating, you're feeding your child. The first few days actually after a C-section or after delivery, for the first 5 days, traditionally, a woman is not given food. She's only given coffee to release all the water retention and the placenta from the body. They're not allowed to eat food. But now, just engage in a lot of healthy laddus. Don't be worried about putting on weight. You will put on weight actually after delivery because you're lactating and feeding the child. And the child needs that kapha. Kapha is good fat in your body. Besides that, I would recommend you do a direct consultation with us, you know, because there's a whole series of medicines also that we can give you. Like Shatavari is a great herb. It helps in lactating as well. And it helps in cooling the body down also. For gynecological health, it's excellent. And do dhoop, by the way. Dhoop is a great way. You know, ajwain, which is bishop's weed, you just roast it on the tawa, put it on coal, hot coal, under the bed. Taking the fumigation of the dhoop or fumigation of the vagina or the uterus is a great way to lose weight also and to prevent any bacterial infection that the mother gets post-delivery.
Dimple, I think.
Okay, the ajwain part. Okay, this is called fumigation of the uterus through the vagina. What we do is we take ajwain, which is bishop's weed or carom seeds. It's called ajwain. You just roast it on the tawa and place it in a pan with hot coal. Place the ajwain on top of it and place that ajwain wala thing under the bed. You basically fumigate your uterus through the vagina. What it does is it removes all kinds of bacteria and viruses from the uterus. Your placenta, which is stuck there, might start coming out. Water retention will also start coming out. There's a great way to sterilize the body and also to boost your immunity and health. So this is something that you can do. Ask your grandmother and mother. They do a lot of these recipes, and wear a tight fabric around the stomach. That will also help in pushing all the water out of your body. You know, the water, the biological water that in which the baby was surviving needs to get pushed out. If that stays in the stomach for too long, or the womb, it'll start causing diseases. And have a lot of ghee and oil in your diet.
Okay, 2 more questions and then we will let you go, Dimple. I don't want to, but then I think the sun is also getting pissed off at us now. So,
Yeah.
Sakshi
So
asked,
listen, even if you miss the answers, guys, Pooja's going to take the 2 questions. I do a live stream almost every day at 5:30, either on Prana page, or I end up giving interviews to, like, you know, wonderful, talented girls like Pooja and Glow community. Every day at 5:30, I will go live and answer as many questions as possible.
perfect. Or you can directly DM it to her, and I'm sure she'll be more than happy to take those questions. So Satakshi asks, she has a morning sneezing problem, and she usually takes lukewarm water with lemon. But is there any other alternative remedy?
Yes, like I said, 1 teaspoon honey, half teaspoon grated ginger, a pinch of pepper, and a pinch of turmeric. That will help in correcting your bronchial health. It sounds like you have a couple of allergies. Also, check your bed sheet and your pillow cover. Make sure that you have a fresh one every day, or at least a towel. Cleanse your room because you're getting allergies from your room. That's why you're waking up sneezing. There's something about your environment. Correct that, and have this recipe. The recipe is there on our Instagram page, if in case you didn't register.
Okay, 2 more questions. I think I'm overdoing this, but so Amanpreet asks, are overnight soaked almonds, walnuts, munakkas good for pitta? Also, which oil massage is good for pitta? I think we already answered this.
No, this is a different one. We answered for Vata. This is
Okay,
great. Yeah, Munaka is the big raisins. They call, I don't know what's the English word for it. Almonds pre-soaked is excellent for pitta. They must always pre-soak it and peel it. They should not have it raw with the skin. It's not very easy to digest. Almonds. Pre-soaked Munaka is also great. You can do a full body massage with cold pressed coconut oil because that reduces pitta dosh. And you're already doing it right, so don't worry. You're doing a good job.
Someone says, I think this last one, Mayank Oja says, he's heard somewhere, drink food and chew water. Is this helpful for gut health?
Drink food and chew water. Okay, I will correct that a little bit. I'm hearing a rustling noise behind me. I don't know what it is. So I'm just going to move away from the spot. Drink, chew food. Sorry, guys, I got a little scared there. No, I don't think so. There's no such thing as drink food and eat water. That's not how it is. You need to chew your food till it becomes like water in your mouth. It should become like milk in your mouth. Chew your food till it becomes water, and then you swallow it. Don't swallow half digested food. That is one. If you're having I do not recommend it, first of all, but if you chew your smoothie and juice in your mouth, like pretend like you're chewing, because that releases digestive juice or saliva in the mouth. Yeah, and don't eat water. That doesn't work. You'll choke on it.
So, okay, I think anybody who has more questions can DM us or DM Dimple directly, and I'm sure Dimple will be more than happy to take those questions. And this has been one of my most favorite sessions till date. So I think
I really enjoyed it too.
We've learned so many things right now, and everybody who liked it, I think, say thank you to Dimple in the comments. Everybody who's joined now, you can go back and see the live, our story where we will be uploading it, and it will be also uploaded on our IGTV. So you can always go back and revise, because I know I'm going to do, because there are a few recipes that you mentioned that I want to go back and try again. So everybody is now saying thank you. Says thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. You've been wonderful viewers, and thank you so much, Pooja, for being a wonderful host. And congratulations to the Glow community. You're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you so much for doing this, Dimple. And I loved the session, and I think people are going to just ask for you again. So please come back soon so we can do one more amazing session.
More than happy to. More than happy to. See you guys soon. Thank
See
you so
guys
much,
soon.
Pooja.
Bye.
Passing my love.
Bye.